The rain fell in sheets, drumming against the black umbrella Leela Carver clutched at her husband's graveside. Daniel's coffin, polished oak gleaming under the storm, seemed too small to hold the man who'd filled her life with quiet laughter and steady love. A paramedic with calloused hands and a heart too big for his own good, Daniel had been gunned down in a grimy alley by Officer Ryan Holt, a cop whose badge masked a predator's soul. The official report called it a tragic error, Daniel responding to a 911 call, mistaken for an armed suspect. But Leela knew the truth, whispered to her by Daniel's trembling partner who'd seen it all. Holt was shaking down a drug dealer, and Daniel, in the wrong place at the wrong moment, had paid with his life. The precinct buried the truth faster than they buried Daniel. Holt walked free, his smirk untouched by the internal investigation that cleared him in weeks. Leela, a librarian with a gift for remembering details, page numbers, dates, faces, stood alone at the funeral, her grief hardening into resolve. As dirt hit the coffin, she made a vow. Holt would pay, not with blood, but with the ruin of everything he held dear. She would dismantle his world, brick by crooked brick. Leela's apartment became her war room. The walls, once lined with Daniel's sketches and her poetry books, were now plastered with news clippings, police reports, and a grainy photo of Holt, his cold eyes staring from a precinct newsletter. She spent nights hunched over her laptop, scouring public records and hacking forums, teaching herself to navigate the digital shadows. Holt was no small-time crook. He was a linchpin in a network of corruption, protected by Captain Gerald Vance, a man whose crisp uniforms hid a ledger of bribes. Holt's weaknesses were clear: arrogance, a gambling debt that grew by the month, and a temper that alienated even his allies. Leela catalogued every detail, her librarian's precision turning into a weapon. She knew brute force wasn't her path. Holt was a hulking man, 6'3", with a boxer's build and a gun he wasn't shy about using. Leela, petite and soft-spoken, needed to be smarter, sharper. She enrolled in a Krav Maga class in a gritty gym across town, not to fight Holt but to forge herself into something unbreakable. The training was brutal. Sparring sessions left her bruised, her lungs burning, but each punch she landed rebuilt her confidence. She learned to move with purpose, to anticipate threats, to strike only when it counted. Her instructor, a former soldier named Mara, saw the fire in her eyes. "You're not here to fight," Mara said one night, wiping sweat from her brow. "You're here to win something bigger." Leela only nodded. Her next move was to get close to Holt's world. She applied for a civilian consultant role at the 14th Precinct, using a forged resume under the name Clara Wells. Her background as a librarian made her a perfect fit for digitizing old case files, a job so mundane no one questioned her presence. She wore glasses she didn't need, dyed her auburn hair a mousy brown, and spoke softly, blending into the precinct's chaos. Holt passed her desk daily, never glancing twice. To him, she was invisible, a ghost in his empire of corruption. Leela's plan unfolded like a slow-burning fuse. She started with pebbles, small disruptions to Holt's carefully guarded life. Using a burner laptop, she sent anonymous tips to internal affairs about his sloppy paperwork and questionable arrests. Nothing damning, just enough to make his superiors squint. She hacked his burner phone's call logs, a trick learned from a dark web tutorial, tracing calls to a bookie named Frankie who operated out of a dive bar called the Rusty Anchor. Posing as a desperate gambler, Leela met Frankie, slipping him a sob story and a few $100 to leak Holt's debts. The information was gold. Holt owed $40,000, and his creditors were losing patience. She escalated carefully. Leela befriended Sarah Nguyen, a tenacious reporter at the City Herald, feeding her grainy photos of Holt exchanging envelopes with a known dealer in a parking lot. Sarah's articles began to bite. Local cop linked to underworld figures. Holt's temper flared. He smashed a precinct coffee machine when a colleague mentioned the headlines. Leela watched from her desk, her heart pounding, but her face a mask of indifference. She was winning, but the game was dangerous. One slip and Holt's paranoia could turn deadly. To tighten the noose, Leela planted a forged ledger in Holt's patrol car, slipped into the glove box during a late-night shift when he was at the Rusty Anchor. The ledger, meticulously crafted to mimic his handwriting, detailed fictional bribes from a cartel, names and dates that aligned with real drug busts. She mailed a copy to the FBI's tip line, knowing they'd been circling the precinct for months. The ledger wasn't enough to convict, but it was enough to spark a federal probe. Holt's allies began to distance themselves, sensing the heat. Captain Vance, sweating under scrutiny, snapped at Holt in a meeting, their alliance fraying. Leela's boldest move was personal. She remembered Daniel's stories about Holt's barroom boasts, his need to feel untouchable. She bought a tiny audio recorder no bigger than a button and planted it in a booth at the Rusty Anchor, where Holt met his crooked partner, Officer Mike Drennan. Late one night after Holt lost big at poker, she caught Gold, his slurred voice, laughing about Daniel's death. "The paramedic saw me take the cash. Had to go. Clean shot, no regrets." Leela's hands shook as she saved the file, her grief surging anew. But she didn't cry, she burned. The final act came at a city council hearing on police reform, a televised event packed with activists, press and brass. Leela, as Clara, slipped into the crowd, her heart a drumbeat. She sent Sarah the audio file, along with a dossier of Holt's crimes, bank records, photos, the ledger. As the council debated body cameras, Sarah's outlet streamed the audio live. Holt's voice filled the room, smug and damning. "Clean shot, no regrets." The crowd gasped, phones lit up with notifications, and protesters surged forward, chanting for justice. Holt, seated in the back, froze, his face grey. He shoved through the crowd, but FBI agents waited at the exit, cuffs gleaming. The aftermath was chaos. Holt was charged with murder, racketeering, and corruption. Captain Vance resigned hours later, his own ties to Holt exposed. The 14th Precinct faced a federal overhaul, and Sarah's byline became a household name. Leela watched it unfold from her apartment, Daniel's wedding ring heavy on a chain around her neck. She'd expected triumph, a rush of victory. Instead, she felt hollow. Revenge had consumed her days, her dreams, her soul. She'd torn down Holt's world, but Daniel was still gone. The apartment was still silent. Leela lit a candle by Daniel's photo, his smile frozen in time. She traced the frame, whispering, "I did it for you." The rain outside had stopped, and a sliver of moonlight cut through the blinds. Justice hadn't healed her, but it had freed her. She packed a bag, left the war room behind, and stepped into the night, ready to rebuild, not as a widow, but as Leela Carver, warrior, survivor, whole.